Welcome back. My name is Fausto from Cyber Trading University, and we're here on the podcast of, basically talking to traders and kind of more discuss a little bit about what the hell's going on in the market. How do we make ourselves better traders? Exactly what makes people fail and succeed, and also have a little fun. So, we have Casey here, Casey Stubs, and I'm looking forward to having him on here. It's our first time on our podcast. Want to kind of pretty much get to know, a little bit about his style, exactly what he's seeing that is making traders better, and most importantly, how to not to become worse. So, Casey, thanks to the show. Good to see you.
Thanks, Fausto. It was great having you yesterday. And yeah, we don't want to be worse. Just like how you said yesterday, you don't teach people to make money. You teach them how not to lose.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing. You got to know how to, winning is easy. That takes care of themselves. Those losers, they dig themselves in these big holes and they just don't know how to get out of them. There was some trades that we did this morning too, Casey, that really came down pretty hard. And all of a sudden, boom, the stock just basically, if you didn't get out of them, that big loss could have been a huge loss. And it's a lot easier to recuperate from a small loss than a big loss. But with that said, tell us a little about you. What got you into, the education business, Casey? I mean, how long you been doing it for? What got you into it?
Well, I actually started in trading back when I was in high school. My dad wanted to trade online for the first time in like the early 90s. He used to call in all of his orders, and so I was a computer nerd and he needed to get set up on the internet for online trading. And so he introduced me to stocks. I introduced him to computers. So been doing it for quite a while. And I started the education side in 2009 because my job as a construction worker wasn't going so well because I got laid off and I had to try to find a new line of work.
Well, I guess that was probably the best thing ever happened too, is getting laid off, right? I mean,
didn't feel like it at the time, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a time. Hey, listen, we've all been there. We've done that. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people listening in that, they're in that situation right now. I mean, they're about to retire. They're getting replaced by younger people, and so on. But I always kind of look at it when you're trading in today's markets, it's like people look at it like, well, I could probably make money doing this, but we all know what those big challenges are. So how did Winning Edge get started?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I got laid off and was trying to find work, whatever. But I'd been trading for a long time. Like I started in the 90s. I was there through the dot-com boom, and I wasn't really much of a trader. I was more of just a dollar cost average guy. And it's kind of funny because I started at 18 and I was just putting a little bit of money in, and I was in the Army, right? And back then I only made $800 a month, which is not a lot, but they feed you, right? They feed you, they give you a place to live. You got no expenses. So by the time I got out 4 years later, I had over 30,000 in the stock market. And that was because I was buying tech stocks. And man, I learned a valuable lesson as a very young person. But yeah, I wasn't full-time trading until I actually lost my job. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start education, teaching people what I know, see what happens. And I didn't realize it was going to actually launch into an education business. It's just my website ended up taking off and people were asking me for help all the time. I'm like, oh, wait, maybe there's a way to make money from this.
Well, and that's the big issue I think a lot of people have when it comes into finding education, Casey, is that people, they don't realize that you got to do your homework. You have to find out, like I was talking even on your show, you're going to have to try a little bit of everybody's stuff to kind of find out your style, which leads me to that, about what you do is like, what is the style of Winning Edge? I mean, like, what do you do and teach that people were, made your website take off in your educational school industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward and simple, but when you talk about education, I've had a lot of it, right? Because I've taken so many different courses. I've taken free courses. I've taken YouTube courses. I've taken mentorships and paid courses. I mean, I learned the value of self-investment, right? And so I've taken a lot. And so my methods have changed a lot over the years. And I do a kind of a combo of a long-term swing trading where I really love weekly charts, right? Because I got 9 kids. I'm a busy guy.
9 kids?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that yesterday.
We start a small village.
Yeah, so it keeps me very busy.
Oh my God!
And so
God bless you.
So I like to use weekly charts. With the weekly charts, you can actually trade once a week. You just log in on Friday, and it's just like you said yesterday when you said you don't got to hit home runs, right? I don't
Mhm.
have to make money every single day. As long as I'm consistently making money, I can check in on those charts every week and do just fine.
And do you have a preference of like an industry, or you just like for me, I'm a day trader, so I'm more focused on. I mean, some of the students here, that are listening in, they watch me. I broadcast live every morning, and we talk about the watch list. And like we were talking, I was on your show. Like, I don't care what these companies do. It's more about risk to reward. But when it comes to actually going out there and looking at a certain market, do you have like a preference, or you just do what more day traders like we do, just seeing what's hot, what's the flavor of the day, and run with it?
Yeah, I do.
Or week in your saying in your
I primarily stick with stock market. I do trending stocks, and I find patterns. I look for support and resistance levels. I look for consolidation patterns where market's going sideways, and then when it breaks out of that pattern, I like to get into that. I do some short-term trades as well, and when I do that, I tend to stick with just the S&P 500. I really like to find key levels that are being tested, and I don't have all that advanced order flow stuff that you've got. But I just look for key levels, and then I look for a price action pattern on that level. And it works pretty well for me.
Well, listen, the reason why we do these webinars and these podcasts, these live broadcasts, is that great traders surround themselves with good traders. I mean, I just did a video yesterday saying, I don't know if anybody here watched it, but like I did a quick little short, just saying like what my dad taught me, being first generation Italian. I said, listen, he came in with no money in his pocket, but you know what? You want to be a good trader. You don't learn from bad ones. You learn from good ones. So you got to go out there, and you have to surround yourself with good traders. So like, listen, we always learn something new. I mean, that's why I love have people like you on here that have been very successful and been around for a while. And I think that's one of the challenges people have here too, is like, they're like, who do you trust? And that's what I want to ask you this. Listen, you've been around the block with me. I mean, you wrote a book through Wiley. I have a book too, How to Beat Market Makers at Their Own Game, because I was a market maker, but a lot of people here is like, how do you know who to listen to and not? I mean, they might not like the way you and I style, whatever it is, but they
Right.
say, I like what the guy does. I mean, it makes sense. It's not my style, but how do you get away when you have that person that comes to you and try to put that fear in God in them before they go out there? Because we get a lot of scrutiny. Let's be honest. I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, you're just doing it to make money and this and that." And I'm like, no, it's not. Listen, it's work. But what do they look for? What do you tell them?
Well, the thing is, it's so crazy. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so I grew up without cell phones and stuff and all this
So did
internet
I.
stuff.
So did I.
So it's hard now with all of the craziness. And I think young people, they're addicted to their phones, and they're just like, they believe anything they see on the internet, to be honest. And so you got to be very careful. And so for me, the biggest thing is you look at maybe not so much the flash, but look at the substance of their training, and then try it out, right? The biggest thing that I see is that people are automatically doubting what you say. They automatically, and that's okay. Some people like to, I'm a little more of a gullible person. I'll believe it first. But what I like to at least do is verify with my own testing. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
if somebody says this strategy is great, this is what I can do. Well, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how it works. And then I'm going to ask some questions and try to verify through experience rather than just make a judgment call right on the front end. Because just because you don't like somebody, or you just, some of the best people that I've learned from, I actually didn't like too much. Some of their personalities were a little abrasive. And I thought, man, this guy's he's kind of cocky or whatever. And I just didn't want to hear from him. I kind of felt like, oh, I know more than this guy type thing. But then as I submitted myself to the process and opened up a little bit, I'm like, okay, I made a bad judgment call on the front end.
Well, remember we were talking about that yesterday? I was talking about the bedside manners doctor.
Right.
I mean, when we talk about that, I said, listen, do you want someone that has like no personality and is very cocky and whatever, and at least saves your life? But you want the person that comes back to you and pets your hand like, Don't worry, it'll be okay. I know what to do when you want someone's good bedside manner. So listen, I approach sometimes people, I said earlier, like I'm from New York. Sometimes, I'm old school and I might be very straightforward, but you know what? Like you just said, sometimes you learn we only do it because we don't want you to get hurt. We just know what's coming. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's what happens.
Yeah, I'd rather have you learn from my mistakes and go make new ones, and that's a great way to do it,
Yeah, it always happens. Now, looking ahead, where do you? I mean, doing this for a while now. I mean, you trained so many people over the years. What have you find has been like the most biggest challenge that traders have that you have to like hurdle to kind of sink in and got to educate them and get them on the straight line, path?
Yeah, I think really I've had some amazing people that have learned from me, and I can tell you what the biggest success rate is. And this is crazy, but it's the people that actually are willing to take your word and to follow what you say. Right. And I'm not like saying that to put myself up on a pedestal and you got to do what I say. Everybody's got to learn their own thing, but I've got some people that are just so resistant. They're like, "Oh man, you don't know what you're doing." And they'll just fight me the whole way. And it's like, no. But then I get people that will literally just do every single thing. They're just so eager, so hungry. And so the key word that I like to use is teachable. Someone that is teachable will be very successful. I've got a guy that I just was working with really young, and he was successful pretty quick just because he followed along.
Well, and how long does it take someone like you feel it takes to someone to get it before you have to tell them and be honest with them? I mean, like I always kind of pair us as being, not saying I'm a doctor, but like, listen, we are in a way of, you want to be honest with them and you got to let them know when you got to tell them, hey, listen, it's just not working out for you. You're gonna have to move on.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's obviously different for every person. Cause for me, it really took a long time because I'm very hard-headed. I'm very stubborn, and I can take one of my biggest strengths is also one of my biggest weaknesses, in that I can take a massive beating, right? You can beat the crap out of me 1,000 times and I'm going to keep getting up. And so that's a strong point, but it's also a bad point because that's like, okay, I'm just going to do it one more time,
Mm.
before changing. And so for me, it took a long time. And so it just took a lot of pain. So it's hard to say how long. I mean, if you get the perfect person that like follows everything, that manages their psychology, manages their risk, to actually learn the techniques is not that hard. I'm thinking like a couple months of just steady practice, you could really nail it down pretty good.
Now, regarding about like, looking ahead with traders or, uh, what Winning Edge has been really successful at being around for a while. Is there any cool projects that, the educational programs that you're working on, or things that have worked very well and things that you've seen have not worked very well for new traders?
Well, I think for new traders, there's a lot of good opportunities because it's so much simpler. And this is not necessarily stuff that I've created, but it's just simpler for people to get involved in the market. It doesn't cost as much, which is good and bad. It's good because it gets more people in the markets, but it's bad because they're maybe not ready. But earlier on, took a lot. People had to jump through a lot of hurdles to become traders, and now it's like, oh, anybody, go ahead. And so for me, one of the biggest things that I have developed to help traders is really working on signals, trade setups and ideas that are delivered directly to traders to save time. Right. And so that's been probably the biggest thing, is like, okay, you don't got time to set up this account and to do all this. Well, we're just going to send stuff directly to you.
And what kind of indicators are those? I mean, like as a swing trader, what are the ones they should stay away from and the ones they should be using?
Well, so as a swing trader, the good thing about it being a swing trader is that you give yourself plenty of time to analyze a trade. The bad news is that, you have to wait a little bit longer for confirmation. But you really don't need a lot of indicators, so to speak. With my trading, I'm really just looking mainly at charts. The one key indicator that I'm using right now is the 9 EMA. I like to see the price continue in an uptrend and break out and break above that 9 EMA. And that's primarily the main indicator that I'm using now.
And do you have like a preference of like certain software, or, with technology, is it okay just to use a specific, the brokerage firms, what they offer you? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So with one of my most successful activities and products, I guess you would say, that I'm doing now is it's trading the S&P 500. And so with that being said, there's so many different ways you can trade it, right? You can trade with options. You can trade with futures. You can trade with the ETF and just buying shares outright. And you can actually there's even Forex platforms now called CFDs that let you trade the S&P 500. So you can really trade it with whatever you're using. And so that's what I tell people. It's like, they're like, well, what system should I go to? What broker should I do? I said, well, what are you using now? Just use that, right? Because that way you're more familiar with it. And the way that we actually deliver trade education and signals is we do it right through a Telegram. It's an app that goes right onto your phone. And
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of people that use the Telegram program.
I love it. It's so fast. It's quick. It's better than email, I think. Faster than text messages. Once I got on, I got really hooked on it.
Yeah. So, are they okay just to use their brokerage firm? Is there a preference brokerage firm is better than others that you would think of using?
I don't have any recommendations on broker, whichever one that people are in, whether it's a futures or a stockbroker or a combo. A lot of them do combo right now, but yeah, no preference there at all.
What brokerage firm do you use? Do you have a preference?
Well, I use Tasty Works, and I also use Robinhood.
Oh, okay. Use Robinhood. Okay. What? Okay. Now, for me, like, I would never use Robinhood because as a day trader, it's a little bit different. You know what I
Right.
mean? As a swing trader, it works. I mean, just like Web Bull or anything like that. So there are certain platforms that are better for certain things. And I think that's another hurdle people get. You just don't open up a brokerage account just because, they get good cheap tickets or whatever. It all depends on your style. I always
Right.
tell them, like, one style is always better than the other, and that's what ends up happening.
And I have some other really key reasons why I like Robinhood, and that's because of the crypto side of things. Because I like to buy and collect cryptocurrencies as an investment side of thing. And so with Robinhood, you can buy a crypto and send it to your wallet, and you have a crypto wallet. I don't know if you're into that at all, but you keep your crypto wallet. You store your crypto right in your web browser, and it's not even connected to a broker. And so that's why I like Robinhood. It's great for crypto.
Yeah, I like the stock too. I've been trading it. I actually own it for a little while. I kind of chased it. I mean, the whole thing with the GameStop and everything else. Where is it right now? I'm looking at it. It's at 45 cents. And it in the past, just kind of show everybody a little bit what we got going on here. Talking about Robinhood really quick while we're at it. But let me just share it really quick. We could show everyone, because Robinhood, obviously, I don't know if people know this, but Robinhood, here we go, right here. So Robinhood, basically, looking at it, it's been they're like, I think they're the second largest holder in Bitcoin, I believe. They own a shitload of Bitcoin, and
They own a ton of crypto, not just Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, they own a lot.
And I, this is a great trade, and I took this trade several times. I use it. If you look at this on like weekly charts, there was some really big patterns. If like down around the $11 point, I got in and made some awesome trades on this.
Yeah. It's been it had a nice little run not too long in May. You could see it right here, how it ran from like 16 and ran to 23. It's got a lot of support levels right around $20. You can see resistance levels right here. It's kind of holding pretty strong right now. Looking at a weekly chart, not more of a daily chart. But yeah, listen, there's a lot of good opportunities, and obviously the whole hood thing, Robinhood had to do a lot with the GameStop story, but this is obviously in a different league in its own.
Yeah, and they're actually, when you look at on a business side of things, which I don't look at it too much, but I know they're actively doing a lot of things to help them make money. Like you said, with the Bitcoin holdings. So it's not just like trade commissions and all that stuff. They're doing a lot with crypto and they're making money that way. And they're also expanding in other markets in Europe and around the world. And so those are things that, if you're interested in the fundamentals, which I am a little bit, they are making some moves in that area as well.
Yeah, they are. They're making some pretty good moves. So, getting back to a little bit more about your trading and your style. So, eventually, like, do you think trading's a full-time job? People ask me that all the time. Yes or no?
So in context to that question, do I think that you can make a living? Yeah, the answer is yes. Do I think that it takes 40 hours a week like a full-time job? The answer is no.
Yeah.
I think you can make a living trading in using weekly charts, doing like an hour a week. No problem.
So then, what is your recommendation to people do? Like, what does Casey do to wind down? I mean, what do you do? I mean, I know, well, first of all, I take that back. You got 9 kids you got to deal with. So,
I just saw this thing. My kids are getting older now, but I just saw this thing on Twitter this morning on X. The guy's like, well, you can't take a vacation and relax when you got little kids. And I don't know if he was whining or what he was doing, but I was like, yeah, no kidding. I said, what I do on vacation is I jam pack activities and just have a crap ton of fun and then wear the kids out. And then if you want to relax, then you can
then you relax. You wear them out, just get it through. So, something totally different we're talking about. But getting back to the kids, I always meant to ask us, how do you get around with 9 kids? I mean, do you buy like a big monster van or something like that? I mean, like, because it's your kids plus you and your wife. So
yeah, so we need a 15-passenger van, and that's what we do. Yeah, and my buddy, he's got a lot of kids too, and he got a custom conversion van and really made it awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, that won't work too well where we live in it, and it, to kind of get around. But God bless you. I respect you for that. That is amazing. Now regarding about being a trader and stuff like that. I mean, people always think like, listen, we're human. I mean, we're just like you, everyone that's listening in. So getting back to, regarding of your type of trading and stuff like that, what are some of your memorable moments like that really like made you really enjoy trading, that really made you see that you did something good, or just had something or just a great trade or something that happened that someone might relate to?
That's the thing about trading is that it can be emotional and, it's like a roller coaster, right? You go the big ups and downs, and I've had some really awesome trades, and those have really given me a lot of joy. That's the good thing is trading can give you a lot of joy when you are doing well. You mentioned on your show, or not your show, on my show yesterday about COVID and how great that was, and so I'd say that was probably my greatest moment, which, along with every other trader in the world, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
trading was not the disease itself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, COVID itself actually hit me pretty hard and knocked me down, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that year was just phenomenal, and so it had a high and a low. It was great because I think I did like a triple on my account that year. It was so awesome. But then the next year was a real struggle for me because it was like back to normal type stuff.
Yeah, and I think that was some of the challenges that I found too, Casey. That a lot of people that found Cyber Trading University too is that they thought it was so easy. You could have bought anything, and they all had to stay home, and all of a sudden they just came in like, let me try to trade the market and stuff like that. And just no matter what you bought, it was terrible for the people that were in the market before. I mean, I had my IRAs and I saw them get destroyed.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, thank God I didn't sell out of anything. I just weathered the storm. They actually performed better, made everything back. But let me tell you, it was pretty ugly. But anyone that got into the business, it was like, I always tell everyone the worst thing that could happen to a trader is that you make money in the beginning. That's the worst thing because you think it's so easy and you think you could nothing go wrong. You got to learn how to lose before you can make. And that's some of the challenges, like you just mentioned earlier, that when it comes in there. Now, and then regarding about, someone getting started too, I want to get back to, regarding about, taking courses and watching these videos, watching these podcasts, but like, what about a movie? What about like any great movies that you've seen, or any great books that people, I'm not a huge book fan, even though I have a book, but, and you too, but like any great movies that really stand out, that really was very educational to you, that I think people should listen and watch?
I haven't seen a ton of movies about trading, but I just watched right before this interview. It was a couple days ago. I just actually watched 2 business movies. And one of them was called The Founder, which was about McDonald's. Have you seen that one?
Oh, okay. No, I haven't.
You should see it. I think you would
Really?
enjoy it. Yeah. It's about the McDonald's brothers. They started the McDonald's restaurant, and
Okay.
they did such a good job. They like organized the systems, which is really a lot like trading. That's why I love watching these types of movies, is like, okay, so they got their restaurant system perfectly. And then Ray Kroc came along and was like, okay, you guys got this great system, but you got to take it national. And so he took it national, but they were just very resistant. They didn't want to go big. They just wanted to stick with their system, and they built it, and it was like their baby type thing. And he wanted to blow it up. So then they got in this big fight, and he ended up buying them out. And the movie's very entertaining, but it also has a ton of lessons.
Oh, really? And Stan, it's funny. I was on a plane, and for anyone here is a big fan of BlackBerry, so they made the movie. They made the movie about BlackBerry too. So and I was a huge BlackBerry fan. I mean, like I was like one of the last Mohegans. Like, I'm not moving. I'm not getting rid of it and going to the iPhone. I was hooked with the click, 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 and stuff like that. But that was and it's funny because when you live that whole year, when everything happened back then, it was awesome. And we got a couple of people here even just saying in the trading room they love that movie. And it was
Yeah.
a sad movie at the end. But getting back to what you said, about McDonald's, the people at RIM were very stubborn. You know what I mean? They didn't think of the big picture, and then they finally took in this one jerk that came in because he got fired because nobody liked him at the other company. And then he liked the idea, and he says, well, I'm going to be your CEO right now. And he just basically told him what to do. And, but he really did blow up the company. And, it was just amazing. And you were just like you mentioned earlier, about people being jerks. This guy was the biggest jerk. Everyone hated him at the company. Just hated him. But anyway, if you get a chance to watch, that's a good movie too. I'm
going to check it out. I love business movies, so yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, it shows the whole business model, how they build the business model, and how they went up, and how the people that worked there were just a bunch of like, just in some closet. You know what I mean? It was really, really, really funny. So what do you do to wind down in the meantime? Like here you are, you're talking about trading. And you're saying it's not a full-time job. What do you do to wind down and like take minds off? I mean, like what happens if you have a loss? Like, what do you try to like clear your head? Do you do anything? Because people need something a little bit more therapy, something physical, to kind of get their minds off it.
Yeah, I actually think that it's really important to have a lot of extra activities too, right? Like for clearing your mind, great psychology thing, just go do fun things, hobbies, things that you enjoy. Sometimes some of my best ideas happen when I'm doing something different, not especially with the screen stuff. Get away from the screens, And so one of the things you said you don't like, I like to read. So I do like reading. And I also, I like to get out into the woods. I live in the woods. I live in Pennsylvania in the woods. I like to hike. A couple years ago, I did a 70-mile hike. I was just me in the woods in a backpack.
Did you make it back in one day?
It wasn't 70 in one day. It was like 3 days. So
okay.
Maybe even 4, but up and down the mountains and just being alone in nature for that long, totally isolated, no cell phone, pretty cool experience.
Yeah, I tell everybody that same thing. Like sometimes you need to clear your mind. Like as a day trader, like when I first got started, we forced ourselves to go see a matinee. you know, to get just to kind of get away from the computer, because there's only certain times that are most volatile and not just anything get away. You can't trade here all day long. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you'll just get yourself in trouble. So I did have a question come in, and I did ask some of my traders in the room a little bit more, Casey, about your style, because obviously some people do follow you, and they want to know, is there anything new that you're working on, as in, you know, on your education wise, and that people should be looking forward to, and what they, you know, to kind of like deal, because listen, we're going to an election year. You know, the market's been, you know, almost at all-time highs, you know, as much as you might look at short term, but it's really been doing very well.
It's been great. There was a stat that came out that I wasn't aware of, that in like 23, the market made a couple all-time highs, and then in 22, it didn't make any. But this year, it's made like 20 some all-time highs in this year, which is just phenomenal. And with that being said, I could share an S&P trade that I
please
took
show
today.
Go ahead.
And you know, it kind of gives. I'll just run through my style here. Let me know if you guys can see this.
Do it again.
It didn't work?
Yeah, no, I got it. There we go.
Okay. So yeah, so this is S&P 500. And what I want, I've got a pin here. You guys can see that. What I want you to notice is I've got an area over here of like a consolidation, and this is like a resistance point. And then price had broken below that over here, and then it retested, didn't make it. And then this morning we had another retest and a breakout. And so I entered in right up here. This is my short position. Okay. Entered in here, and because we had a retest, and this is just basic, simple stuff, right? We just had all this support. We broke lower. And this is kind of I didn't really think of this as being too risky, even though we're very bullish, just because of this price action that we have. And so very simple. Entered in here. I put my stop initially right up there, you know, right around the 55. And then we got a pretty quick reaction. It went right into profit pretty fast. And then I closed part of the trade at that point. And then now I just locked in the rest. And I'm going to just trail it all the way down and see if it either hits my target or hits the stop loss. But either way, I've got profit locked in. And that's pretty much how I do it, whether it's a weekly chart or whether it's a daily chart or whether it's a short term. Today, I just did a short term one. I knew that we were going to be on the show today, so I wanted to kind of show you what I do. And I do like to trade the S&P 500. It gets really good movement. It handles the levels pretty well. Another one that you can trade that's really hot right now, it's great for day traders, is NVIDIA.
Yeah, we trained that today too. I mean, it took a little bit of a hit recently, but it's starting to make it made a little bit of a comeback. Where is it now? It's down about $3. It's been coming down today all day. It's been dwindling down. You know what scares me about NVIDIA? You know, it's trading 40 times more market value. Not even the PE, 40, for times earnings. It's for market value, which kind of scares me on the value of that stock. I mean, I know the outcome of. I'm a huge fan of AI. I think it's
right,
the future and stuff like that. But I mean, but it's like 40 years worth what the company's really worth.
Right. Right.
Nervous.
Yeah. And you know what? When it's that high, all it needs is one piece of bad news. And even if the company's still solid, one piece of bad news could send that thing tumbling, right? Because it's just so expensive, and it's gone up so much.
Oh my God. I mean, if I'm looking at the last April without the splits, I mean, this stock was $27. I mean, like the easiest way to calculate with NVIDIA right now, if everybody kind of get used to it, it's trading 10 times because they did 10 for 1 split. So technically the stock is back at 1,200. Right.
Right.
So that's how you kind of figure it out. But that means back in April of last year, it was trading at $270. So yeah, I mean, that's almost, it's almost like a 500% move.
Yeah, and with the stock split, a lot of times when that happens, they might get an initial blast to the upside, but if you look at it, a lot of times after the split, you'll see a bit of a drop.
Well,
And
it's
so,
great you brought that up. I want to bring one up. I want your opinion on it. Chipotle finally did a split. CMG.
okay,
You know, it was like
let me
50-1 split. It did.
that's one of those crazy stocks, and there's another one of those crazy stocks too, which is Costco, but
Yeah,
right.
Costco hasn't split. I mean, you know what? I had Costco and I sold like a jerk. Meanwhile, I spent so much damn money there. I'm like, it's a new
Oh,
fitness
see,
club.
we don't have Costco where I live. You'd think
Oh,
with
I
a
would not
guy
say you
with a
are.
big
I'm not
family
there.
like
I'm not
me.
there. I'm like, I got the card here. I got everything. I'm like, my whole house is Costco. I'm a junkie.
To me, I don't like the big bulk stuff because I go
You
and
got a
buy all
gifted
kinds of.
whole my family.
Well, I know, but if we buy like 10 things of food, we'll eat it in one day. Right. So I
Oh,
like only buy enough for like a little bit of time because my family's like a bunch of ravenous wolves.
oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So this particular chart is pretty remarkable. How big was the split? Because it wasn't this like
50 to
really.
1.
Oh my
50
goodness!
to 1. It was trading at
Wow.
3,300, 3,200. Yeah.
Could you imagine if I was a long-term holder? I actually was a long-term holder because I like to do on top of trading. I like to dollar cost average on stocks. By the way, that's so powerful. Dollar cost averaging is the best.
Yeah.
Like roll your profits into it. But I was dollar cost averaging this stock a couple years ago, and I had so much profit I rolled into something else that was just dumb.
I mean, listen, it's there's not too many stocks that trading at $3,000. I mean,
Right.
Nvidia was the last one compared to this one. I mean, everyone took it out. Google did it, Amazon did it. They all the big ones did it. The only ones that are left, which I'm waiting on. I mean, I've been a huge fan of Eli Lilly, LLY.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that to probably do a split. It should split. I mean, it's trading at 900. That thing has been doing. That's another one. Last year was at 300. It's at 900. They do an unbelievable on that weight drug.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow. But the thing, I'll take a look at that. But this Chipotle. The thing is, it's hard to wrap your mind around it. That's why I don't look at fundamentals too much. Same with Nvidia. I really love looking at the charts because both Nvidia and Chipotle and even Costco, the growth is so phenomenal on the charts. It's hard to wrap your mind around how it can continue, especially when you look at Chipotle because it's a Mexican restaurant.
right.
I mean, how on earth can it do this kind of thing when it's just a burrito? It's a stinking burrito. Like that's all it is.
And the bowl. I know. I can't figure it out, but they have shops every place. And there's a competitor that's also coming about that. Another stock I screw up. I had it. It just went public. Cava, CAVA. It's the
I
same.
actually haven't even heard of that one.
Oh yeah, it's pretty big, Cava. Remember you're showing the intraday chart. You got to show them the long-term chart on that one and show them what it looks like.
Is CABA?
CAVA.
Oh, I got the wrong chart. That's why.
CAVA.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, very nice.
So we had it. I saw it when it went public. It dropped down to 30. I jumped in around like 45, and I saw it and it went to 70. It backed off. I says, you know what? I can't see Cava going up there. And I was a long term. I had to see. I thought of this as being like the next Chipotle, and but overall on long term chart breaking all time highs. But here's a company. The company's worth more than I think it's than the cost of a store. It's like some ridiculous way how they overvalue it, which gets me nervous. You know what I mean? Like you said, one bad trade, one bad news on it. That's what happened with Chipotle. They had the salad sickness and it killed the stock. I remember it went from 600 down to 400. Yeah.
Right. And that's why trading is so perfect, because we can build positions, long-term holds on these things. And the great thing about trading is that we can trade the charts and earn cash flow, even if maybe our long-term positions get hit. right?
Uh-huh.
And so having that extra source of revenue and then taking that money and rolling it into your investments is just brilliant. That's why I am a big believer in multiple streams of revenue, right? Which is why I have other investments, uh, real estate investments and a business, a trading education business, all multiple streams of income. I think anyone who's doing any types of investing should be looking at doing all those types of things. And so that's other things that I do in my spare time too, is looking for other ways to make other streams of revenue.
Yeah, well, you have to, because you have the free time to do it. So, anything else, any other last minute things you want to leave off and let everybody know being a trader before we wind down and show everyone how to sign up and be able to want to know more about Winning Edge?
Yeah. Well, I just think the biggest thing that traders need to know is to come up with a plan, get the strategy down, kind of like how I was just saying, you do a trading, you try to create revenue that way, you roll it over, and that's kind of a big picture plan. But even then, your daily trade plans, get that together, focus on a couple of the key things that I think are really critical for growth long term. So number one is education. Always be educating and growing. If you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're going back. If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. So always be educating. Number two, get around winners, right? You mentioned that in the beginning. Get around winners. Don't just stay in the dungeon of your trading room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get around people, go to some trading groups, go to some events, find some people to hang out with. That face-to-face stuff does a lot for human beings, and it's great for traders to get around winning traders. The third thing I would say would be focus on discipline. A disciplined person is a successful person. Your discipline in your personal life is going to carry over into the discipline in your trading. I don't believe that we live in a vacuum, that you're going to be a very disciplined trader, but you're going to be totally crazy and free in the rest of your work life. You gotta work on it in your real life, and then maybe it'll be easier in your trading.
Yeah.
And then and then the last point would just be psychology, right?
Yeah.
Trading mindset and psychology. Don't let emotions win. Follow your plan. Have a positive mindset. Believe that you can do it. Stinking thinking will drop you down big time.
And just and show everybody on your website, where could they find out more? Maybe you got a little trial you could show them where to go to, or
Yeah, so my website is actually tradingstrategyguides.com, and that's pretty much where you would find everything about me. I think my book is there. My book is called The Complete Trading System. You can get some free downloads, and we have a ton of education. I believe in education. You can get access to my podcast. My podcast is called How to Trade It. And I've interviewed some amazing people. You're one of them. And I've been on that. I've been doing the podcast for 6 years, and I've talked to a lot of successful traders. So that's a key to my success.
good.
Successful people.
Well, you got to, like I said, you got to hang out. You got to hang around people that are good at what they do. I like to listen to people that are bad at what they do, because I don't want to do those. That's basically what you learn not to do.
Yeah,
But,
like Kramer.
yeah, Kramer, exactly. But you know what? He's a great entertainer. Listen, I met him a few times, and
yeah, I'm not making a comment about him, but I just know there's the Kramer index, that if you take the opposite trade of what he says, you do really well.
You do really well. I know.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a great. He's doing well on the show. So
yeah, he's successful. So you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I even think he was public too. I believe it or not. I think he had his own.
The other trading strategy is the Nancy Pelosi strategy. You just buy whatever she does.
Yeah. Find out later, though. That's the only problem. And that's with anybody in Congress, right? Well, listen, Casey, thanks for coming here. And everyone, thanks for listening in. If anybody wants to come and join Cybertrain University, you have your phone. You can scan the QR code. If you want to learn about Casey, go to Trading Strategies Guide on that little link that we posted up there. And please test out his stuff. And like I said, you could always learn something from somebody. That's the goal, because you got to learn before you can earn. Casey, thanks for being here. And
Thank you.
We got to have you back again. All right. Thanks for coming. And happy trading, everyone. Enjoy your summer.